Borderlands is an enigma of gaming. It is a first-person shooter focusing on RPG leveling and itemization that you would normally find in a Final Fantasy game. Not to mention that the gimmick of the game itself is having a game engine that randomly generates guns, making it very hard to find two of the same. Now you may be thinking, does it deliver a good gameplay experience along with an ungodly amount of firepower? And let me tell you, this game is packing major heat. Borderlands 2 was released on September 18th, and boy did it pack a punch. You start the game out recapping the story of the first game. Well, what little there was. At the end of the first game, the original Vault Hunters, the four main characters, opened an ancient machine called the Vault, which was rumored to have held a treasure beyond anybody's wildest dreams. But in-game, when you finally opened it, you were greeted with a mega squid that wanted to eat your face off. And that was it. Borderlands 2 lets you know that your efforts from the first game was in fact not in vain. After opening the vault, you terraform the world of Pandora into a lush, exotic world, full of not only new creatures, but also a new form of currency, iridium, which scattered across the world right after the vault. This is a great contrast considering the first game you basically trekked through an endless desert all the way up to a mountain. And that was one thing I didn't like about this first game. As you select your character, you notice something different. You're not playing one of the original four characters. This is a whole new crop of Vault Hunters, each one with their own special characteristics and personalities, and all new mechanics to them. First is the Gunzerker, which is able to pull out two weapons and fire them simultaneously. You have Maya, who is a siren, which is able to pick up people in an orb and able to control them for a small amount of time as you can deal damage. You have the Commando, which is able to shoot down turrets and increases weapon damage, similar to the original Soldier in the first game. And you have Zero, which is a number. And he's more mysterious, he's more of a melee character and kind of an assassin. Each one of these differ greatly from the original four characters and bring something new to the table. Once you selected your character, you notice something else that's quite interesting. The original customization screen is gone, where you can choose from one of 10 colors. Now you have palettes, and there's about 88 of them for each class. Being able to choose your color and small details like icons and patches that show up on the character. This is a great change. It brings more than just a palette swap of people running around. You actually can customize a bit and distinguish yourself from other players. You're also able to change their facial features and get new hats for them as well, kind of Team Fortress style. Once you have chosen your class, you're greeted by the main villain of this game, Handsome Jack. And I have to say, he's now on my top 10 list of favorite video game villains. He has a sadistic humor, constantly taunting you throughout the game with weird and nonsensical taunts, and just a great sense of humor.
Hunters, I'm gonna kill you. You wanna prove me wrong? You wanna stop the greatness that is Handsome Jack? Well, come and get me.
Once you finish off with the main cutscene, you wake up on top of a mountain. The visuals are dark and gloomy, and fires all around you. The snow falling on top of your face as you look around seeing that everybody else did not make the train. That sets the tone for the whole game. You're always an oppression by Handsome Jack. Jack is always there. Either his satellite looming up right in front of the sky, constantly in view, or to every machine or every vending machine telling you that he's in control.
Don't worry, customer. Death happens to all of us every once in a while, except Handsome Jack.
He even comes by and taunts you every now and again, sending bounties on your head or attacking fellow friends. He knows he has you. And that's the best part, is you're going to have to fight for survival in this world. And Handsome Jack is going to be that final threat. But you're not alone in this. Almost the entire cast of the original Borderlands makes an appearance, including the original Vault Hunters that you played in the first game.
So,
each person has their charm and humor only a sick mother could love. Each one given more time to develop their story and personalities, and gives them more of what you liked in the first game. You have characters like Dr. Zed, the mad doctor who tries to help, but doesn't have a license, and most all of his patients die. Then you have Claptrap, the annoying, happy-go-lucky robot who thinks that you're his minion, Almost every main character in the story has a purpose, either quest-giving or just there for a bit of humor or backstory. The gameplay itself got a nice coat of polish, as the guns look more menacing and nothing like any of the guns in the past. As the menus are more fluid and better to manage your weapons and items and gear, letting you add icons to your guns for the ones you like, and add icons for the guns you don't want, which you want to throw off the nearest cliff. The interface has some of the best response I've seen in a game in a while. When your shields breaks, a beautiful array of blue octagons shatter, letting you know it's down. And at times, it's distracting because I want to look at this amazing animation, and then 4 guys shoot me in the face. The hit response is great and much improved from the first game, from a tiny little red line from the first game to a massive blood stain in the direction you're being attacked from. Or if you're being caught on fire. Or if you're being electrocuted. Or covered in acid. Or maybe all of the above. It's common. The enemies in the game are more detailed and varied. This is a nice change, as most of the first game enemies looked almost identical to each other, and you felt like it's the same guy just respawning and attacking you over and over again. But now you feel as you're fighting different enemies with different facial expressions and voice acting, and no 2 guys look the same on the screen at the same time. One of the major draws to this game, of course, is the itemization of the game. The game runs off an engine which generates random guns. Now you may be thinking, how does that work? Well, there are basis models for guns, like you have certain types of guns, like the semi-automatics, the rifles, sniper rifles, rocket launchers, and they're somewhat named, but the generation comes in the statistics of them, where 2 guns can drop at the same time, but they can have different stats, like one of them has a higher magazine capacity, the other one has more damage up front, one of them has electrical damage. It keeps the game varied, and you constantly want to open the boxes to see if you can find an upgrade. Another part about this is the random drops of customizations for your cars and characters. This gives another twinging thing of I've got to collect everything I can, because there's a lot of customizations for each class, and with 4 classes, that's a lot of stuff to pick up. And it's really nice because if you pick up something that's not for your class, you can still use it, and the next time you roll a character of the class that you just picked up a part for, it's there ready to go. Vehicles are still in the game, but got a much needed tweak. In the past, running people over was the best way to get a quick experience and kill. In this game, they cut back the damage and the experience you get for running over someone with the car. It's still satisfying and there's challenges for it, but it's not necessary to complete certain camps. We're driving the car into a bandit camp and just staying on the mounted turret. Now it gives you incentive to actually jump out and deal some massive damage. The driving got a bit wonky on the PC version, which I've been playing. And it's just kind of a small gripe. You accelerate by pressing forward, the W key, and you turn the car with the mouse. And it's making it hard to both drive forward and shoot an enemy. Now this is a small gripe, I know, but just kind of the controls to it's kind of off, and it kind of makes it hard for you to do some nice driving fights with enemies and other cars and stuff like in the first game. The questing and progression in this game feels genuine. Each level you get a skill point, which you can add to one of 3 trees, like in the first game. But each tree now is a bit varied, giving you different abilities for your activated skill for each class, or just giving buffs to guns and special key things. They also added a token system, which allows you to pick from a randomly generated list of bonuses, which you can get a small percentage of, like reload speed, weapon damage, elemental damage, gun draw speed, scope speed, draw speed, all sorts of things, and these are unlimited. As long as you keep completing challenges, these coins still rack up, and you can just get as many as you want, and it adds up quickly, as you can tell the difference as you swap out the same weapon over and over again. Time gets better and better. Questing feels great. Every quest now is voice acted with great humor, and the quests themselves feel varied. In the first game, it was, go over here, kill bandits. Okay, here's gun. Now in this game, they give you a reason to go out. Quests change. One quest says you have to kill all enemies with a fire weapon, but everybody's immune to fire that you have to kill. So it adds up a bit of a challenge. They still have the go find the echo recorders and listen to bits and pieces of voice acting, but it doesn't feel as often as it used to be in the first game. Probably one of my favorite quests involved renaming a mob in the game. And as the main character of the quest tries to rename these mobs, they change. So you're looking for certain mobs and their names are changed as you're driving by, which added a great sense of humor as you've been fighting them for so long and seeing them in a different name, like Douchebaggery. It was always pretty funny. Now I do have a few nitpicks with this game. The guns feel and sound great, but the elemental damage is not changed. There was an addition of a slag damage type, which was a good mechanic on hitting them with a slag burst, and then every other type of damage would deal double damage. But that was it. I was hoping they'd add some sort of frost or ooze type of damage, which would slow enemies down, to keep enemies that run really fast at you kind of at ease, but at the cost of damage. I also feel that a bit more hit detection would be great. The guns feel like they have kick, but when you're hitting them over and over again in the shoulder, it looks like you're dealing nothing to them. If you can shoot them enough times in the arm or leg, their leg would fall off, and they just kind of crawl over to you would be a nice touch. I know if they're dealt massive damage, they start limping, but shooting them 12 times in the leg doesn't make them hold their arm. Another thing would be a bit more personal customization to your guns. Yes, that a lot of guns are customizable because of the engine and would make it hard for you to add modifications, but kind of like special things like flare, where killing an enemy would light them in sparks of a certain color, or your elemental damage would be a different color, or even just the muzzle fire would like shoot something different out, like rainbows or sparks, or just kind of something different than every other gun, just letting us put a little bit of customization touch on the guns that are saving our lives on a constant basis. The game does have some problems with textures at times. I have opened up boxes where none of the textures have loaded, and I can't tell if the guns are there or not until a few seconds after they load. I know this is a strain on the engine trying to generate the weapons and the ammunition you need, but it just kind of draws you back when you're waiting for the box to open and there's no loot, and so you have to turn around and come back and it magically appears. Another thing is some monster clipping. A lot of time when I'm driving around in my car, I accidentally hit a monster or I hit an enemy, and they fly up into the ground and they just sink and disappear. Or other times where I hit a monster and their arm gets stuck in the car model and they whip around and they're able to headshot me through the car and I've died. These are some small gripes, but something that Gearbox needs to look at in the future to help the game feel solid. I've had a hard time putting this game down. The humor is superb. Exploring the new Pandora feels exciting and a lot different than the original. The game feels like a sci-fi western now, where you're constantly fighting the authority as you're trying to get back the planet that you're fighting for, which is only full of thugs, thieves, bandits, and people that should be under control, but in their own way needs to be free. Originally hearing about the original cast not being playable characters was a letdown, but seeing them getting their own storylines and being part of the main game again, but not being subject to blank slates was a great touch. They have personality now, and makes me want to go back and see if I could find any other touches. The game has so many references as well to internet memes, jokes, all sorts of stuff, which makes you want to explore every nook again, just to see if you can find that little Easter egg they left. Hell, in one part of the game you actually find Minecraft creepers running around in a cave that looks almost like an entirely different game. They explode just like in Minecraft, and there's even mine blocks that you can mine. It's a great touch and an awesome homage, and the game is full of them, and that's amazing. My final verdict of the game is so. The gameplay is a 9 out of 10. It's great, it feels solid, and it can keep me entertained for hours. The graphics, I love the cartoon cel shading, great touches to every little detail, and it feels like it's its own world. The story got an 8 out of 10. While we learn more about the personality of the old characters and we have an amazing villain, we still don't know much about the people we're playing as, which is a constant disappointment. The depth of the game is fantastic. The itemization of the guns can keep nerds happy with figuring out what's the best gun for this stat and this stat, while keeping all those people that just want to collect as many guns as they can happy. My final verdict of the game is 9 out of 10. It's a definite must-buy for anybody that loves RPGs and first-person shooters of the like. While this game is more of a co-op game than a competition of, who can get the best kills and 360 no-scopes, you can spend a lot of time playing with friends as you go out exploring the world of Pandora. Even when you hit the maximum level cap of 50, there's going to be dungeons, more content to come out. You can even re-roll a new character and start the game out at level 50 and get even better weapons. So once you hit the end of the game, it's not the end. With Gearbox announcing a new class coming out, along with even more content, more story missions, and maybe even arena or two, this game's going to have content for almost another full year, which is going to keep me playing, that's for sure. I personally think this is going to be one of the best games of the year, and I encourage you guys to pick it up. I highly recommend it. But as for me, I'm going to go back and play. I've got a level 37 commando I got to finish up. See you guys next time.